You are listening to the Life Coach Business Podcast with Amanda Carlstad, episode number 188. Welcome to the Life Coach Business Podcast, a show for coaches who are ready to up-level their business and take their impact, leadership, and results to a whole new level. If you're ready to start taking powerful action and become the leader your business needs in order to grow and thrive, this show is for you. I'm your host, Amanda Carlstad, certified life and business coach and entrepreneurial leadership expert. Now let's get down to business. Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to today's show. I have a really special episode for you today. Today I have on a client, Alisa Stoddard, who is a life coach for men. And you're going to get to hear all about her journey into coaching and her journey of building her business to now a run rate of multi-six figures here through my mastermind program. That is my 6-month business accelerator program that's designed to help coaches really grow to that first 100K in the most accelerated way. And I am so excited for Alisa to share her journey and to share her insights. This conversation is packed with gold that I know is going to serve you so well. So we're going to talk about things like how Alisa was able to double her revenue last year and now on track to quadruple it this year in 2023, how she has done that, doing this part-time. So I want to be clear, Alisa is a client who is actually building her coaching business part-time. She is not full-time in her business. She does have a career outside of coaching that she was very clear coming into coaching that she wanted to stay in and she wanted to continue to grow and nurture. And she's done that beautifully. So I think she's a wonderful example for how you can build a business, even if you are currently full-time in another career, and how you can really do that in a really sustainable way. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all of the things, the characteristics that I think have really led to Alisa's success, things like her ability to be fully resilient in the process, her willingness to trust the process, her willingness to try different things, to be open to testing and really not taking things personally. So you're going to hear, again, so much good wisdom in this podcast. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. All right. I have such a special interview for you all today. I'm super excited to welcome one of my clients, Alisa. Alisa Stoddard is here with us today.
Hey
Alisa,
there.
Hey, welcome.
Thanks.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Alisa?
All right. I live in the Mountain West and I like to hike and travel and play pickleball and read and advocate for children. I do have a full-time job in addition to my coaching practice. And as far as my coaching practice, I coach men on intimacy and helping them with their relationships, both with their relationships with their partner, but also with themselves. And so just to clarify, I'm not a sex coach for men. Most men find me because they aren't getting the kind of intimacy that they actually want in their marriage. And so they feel disconnected and things start to not go very well. And their relationships are often at a breaking point when they find me.
Yeah. And we're going to get into, and it's so good. Like the work that you're doing is so, so important and so transformational. And we're going to get into that in today's conversation. But let's just kind of start from what got you into coaching and what has been your journey in the last couple of years as you've been growing your business. And for everybody listening, this is something that Alisa is doing on the side of a full-time career that you have. And you've been very open about that from when you and I started working together, that this was important to you, that you did this in addition to that. And we're going to talk through all that because part of what I want all of the listeners to hear today, part of what I love about your story, Alisa, is how you have been able to manage it all, how you've been able to build a really successful coaching business and also have a really successful career and how that can really work together. So I'm super excited to dive into all of that. But how did you get started in coaching?
Gosh, several years ago, my life crumbled, really, really significant issues with my children and my marriage and my husband's health. And like, there were some really, really hard things that, for me, I was like, gosh, if my kid's doing this kind of stuff, I probably am a really bad mom, and just really feeling bad about that. And so I hired a coach and quickly turned that around, my thinking on that around. But it wasn't very long until I realized, wow, this is me. Coaching is me. It capitalizes on the things that I'm good at. And so this could be a really good addition to my career. Yeah. And so, then I got certified and here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
And now you're a fully booked out coach.
Right.
And we'll get into like all of the details of that. But yeah, like where you're at now, like you have a full practice of clients. And right now you are in the process of building out a group program, your next offer, which is super, super exciting. And it's been an amazing journey. And there's so many things that I want to highlight here in your story that I think are just so important and so powerful. So thank you for sharing that. So let's talk. I think it's important where I want to start here, just because you and I have been working together for a while. And just to be clear, you're part of my mastermind program, which is my business accelerator program. And you and I have been together for some time. How did you come about this niche? And I want to talk a little bit about niche specifically. So let's start with that.
Well, initially, I came to you with a niche that is more tied to what my full-time work is. Yes. And was really passionate with that, had some success in helping people there, but it was hard. It was hard. And so then, given my personal experience with some shifts and pivots with me personally, with my kids, and just some personal growth, I realized that I could help women more like me, midlife women. And so pivoted to that. And that was easier. And I did have success there. And what ended up happening was that many of the women wanted me to talk to their husbands. So I was then talking to their husbands. And so I started working with men, and that felt like home to me. And I really resisted it because of some of the personal dynamics in my marriage and really wanting to not go into that space and, ruffle feathers there. And so truth is, I knew that was my niche and I didn't want to accept it.
Yeah. You were resisting it for quite some time, doing other things that were working and making progress and working with clients and making money, but always knowing that this was really where you were going to land, which I remember the day that we had that conversation and you said you wanted to move in this direction, which of course I fully supported. But yeah, I mean, that was a shift. And, I want to just acknowledge you for staying true to that and being brave to do that, because you were having success with what you were doing and you were building momentum. And so I think there's something to be said about, making a decision like that to just follow your own inner guidance and go after what it really is that you want. So I think that that's so important. The other thing that I want to highlight here for everybody is the fact that you had two other niches that you were really focused on before landing on this niche. Yeah. So you started in a completely different niche, then moved to the midlife women, and then moved into now working with men and intimacy. And I think that's so important because so often where we start our business is not where we end up.
Agreed.
And so I see a lot of coaches that sometimes resist or have a hard time finding what that initial niche is. And also, like, once they are kind of in it, I also see this happens a lot where we might be in a niche and you might be working with a certain group of clients and like deep down, that you're actually meant to be doing something different. So
right. That's definitely my experience.
Yeah. I just want to acknowledge that happens. That's very common. I want to like normalize that for anybody listening who might be resonating with that right now, that I do think that it's very normal when you start out as a coach. Where you start is not necessarily where you end. And I'm not saying that where you are today is where you're ending. I mean, in many ways, you're just getting started here, but don't be afraid to follow your intuition, to follow your own guidance with that. I think there's a lot of power in that, and be brave enough to like take the action and do that. And that's one of the things that I really want to applaud you for, is being willing to say, you know what, I'm going to move into this direction. I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm feeling strongly that this is where I'm meant to be.
Yeah. Your own personal knowing can help you figure out what you want to do. Not to say that you ultimately end up doing it, right? There's no right answers here or wrong answers, but I knew it and was resisting it for personal reasons. And what that really reveals is places that I had work to do on my thinking patterns and whatever. And I had really good reasons for resisting it that I like even to this day. And I still pivoted.
Yeah. So good. Love it. Okay. So we have a sense of who you work with and the work that you do. Let's just kind of talk about kind of your program. We don't have to go into detail, but like just tell everybody, give everybody a sense of like the type of program that you offer, the type of like how you work with clients.
Okay. I do one-on-one currently. And like you mentioned earlier, I am pivoting to, well, I will be adding a group program because I want to keep doing one-on-one coaching. But I work with people in 3-month increments, and I have 12 points that we go over. And they are the things that I see that men need, especially when their complaint is around intimacy and they don't know it. They have no clue that the things we're going to talk about make so much sense to the problems that they are having. And so like, that's the part about really anticipating what their needs are and the ways in which they can grow, that you could offer coaching assistance. And so typically the focus is on intimacy and how do I get more? But it shows up in other places around like confidence and conflict avoidance. And so we work for 3 months, and more often than not, I mean, like 99% of the time, people are returning for additional deeper dive work with me. And that's really rewarding to see.
Yeah. Well, and I just know like whenever we talk and whenever we meet in all of our coaching sessions, I feel like you always have a new like story, or like you're always sharing a breakthrough from a client. And like, I just know that this work for you is so rewarding. And I can tell by just what you're sharing that the clients are just experiencing such massive like breakthroughs and transformations, and you're helping like so many relationships that I just think it's really a beautiful thing. So
yeah, I love it. I love it too. You're right. It brings me a lot of joy.
It does. It does. So yeah. So let's talk about that for a minute. So like, why are you not like quitting your job? Why are you like, I'm sure everybody's wondering, well, why don't you do this full time? Like where are you at? And part of why I want you to explain this is because I think sometimes there's like this pressure in the industry to like, you know, as soon as you become like booked out, or like as soon as you have that momentum, that it's like, you have to go all in, you have to do XYZ. And I just think that it looks different for everybody, right? So someone's journey might be different from somebody else's journey. So let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. Well, probably a piece of this pie is to understand that my husband was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's in his late 40s and became disabled, you know, a few years later, which now we're 10 years into this journey, but it forced an early retirement for him. And so I became our primary wage earner several years ago. And so really my intent with this work was to bridge that gap, that wage difference gap, and to be able to maintain the lifestyle that we wanted. And so anyway, that is part of the reason why I'm doing both, is because I'm not there yet. And we still have, things that we want to do.
Yeah.
And we are also in a time crunch. His health is deteriorating. And so, but to be able to do the things that we want sort of means that I need to go all in on both, I guess.
Yeah.
So the other part is that I absolutely love what I do. I advocate for kids and feel like I'm really moving the needle in terms of child advocacy and places that to help them make sure that they get the care that they need and their voice is heard both on the state and federal level. And, like at the end of the day, like having made impact both with children and the lives that they can live and with men and the relationships that they can have is why I do both.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wonderful. Like, and I just love how you are like, you never complain. One thing that I want to just tell everybody is like, as Alicia's coach, like she never comes into any session, like complaining, like, how do I handle this? Like, how do I like fit all of this in? Like I think one of your strengths is that you are so clear on that. You are so clear on like, what is my mission here with my business and also in my work, in my other career. And I think that has made it a lot easier from my vantage point as you have gotten busier in your coaching business, as now you have like a full roster of clients and you are still showing up fully in your other career. Like, and you're very clear on what you're doing and you're fulfilled by both. That this is why I think this is so important, because I think sometimes I see this happen a lot where you might be building your business like on the side and still maintaining maybe a career, but yet the time crunch and like just the whole pressure of that, I think can sometimes get to you. And I think you've done a really good job of just separating the two and being really organized as far as this is the time that I'm coaching. This is the time that I'm working. And you've had really good boundaries around all of it. Would you agree?
Yes. And to be clear, there are really stressful times in both of these jobs, right? They each have, crunch times and so being organized and having boundaries and making sure that I have balance in my life. And so that I'm doing hiking, I'm doing pickleball, I'm spending time with my family.
Yes.
Right. That it is important to me to have boundaries around that stuff.
Yeah. And I think you do a great job with that. So, and that's so important for you to be able to do all of this. So let's talk for a minute. So a few things that I want to make sure that we highlight here is, okay, so last year you doubled your business. And then this year, and I know we recently just did your numbers and you're on track to essentially quadruple the business. And again, this is part-time and we're talking like, we don't have to get into like specific numbers, but we're talking significant revenue here. We're also talking like, and this is, more of a detailed conversation, but right now from like just a marketing, like ad spend, you're getting a 7.5 time return on your ad spend, which is phenomenal. And I just want to also say like part of why I think you have gotten to where you're at in your business, Alisa, is because you've been so focused and you have been so patient with the process and just trusted the process and worked the process. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah. Let me just say this. Because I was our primary wage earner, there wasn't just, discretionary income to put towards things. I had to be really purposeful about how to spend things. And so right. The ad spend is, I guess, minimal. It's, we've spent more as things have proven themselves,
right?
Which then is turning the revenue around. But so, yeah, you're right. So 2022, I doubled what I did in 2021. And then, so here we are a quarter of the way through 2023, and I have exceeded what I did all of last year.
Yeah.
And by the way, like I thought I could handle 5 clients, which would give me somewhere around 5 to 7 hours a week of work time. And you encouraged me to push that and see. And so now I'm spending somewhere more like 10 to 12 hours a week total on my business. And so, we're exploring the things that have higher revenue potential without additional time.
Which is where the group aspect comes in, because now, and I want to be really clear. So one of the things that, and I'll just say, the work that I do with my clients, separate from, of course, all of the inner work, the mindset work, all of that so important work that we do in terms of identity, is also the real strategy. And so when you came to me, you didn't have really any strategy. You had tried some things in your business and wasn't really gaining a lot of traction. And so throughout that process, and through the process that I take all of my clients through, you were able to really establish a strategy that now is consistently bringing in clients every single week. I mean, it's pretty much like clockwork, if we're really being honest at this point. And that's, for all of you listening, that's my goal for all of my clients, is to establish that level of consistency so that you can then grow and scale in a sustainable way. But we have to start by first building that. And so when I say like Alisa's focus and just her determination on like just staying with the process and trusting the process, I can't emphasize how important that is, because one of the things that happens so often that I see with so many coaches that are building their business is that they try one thing and that thing might not work right away. And so then they jump to another thing, and then they jump to another thing. And before they know it, they're trying all of these different things, but they're not getting traction on the one thing that's actually going to make a difference. And so something that's really important for Alisa in particular is that, you have not done really anything on social media. You don't even have a podcast. You don't have really anything that I think a lot of people think is what you need to build a business. You have what you do have is a message, a program that really helps transform your clients' lives. And you have a really good marketing campaign that's driving that. And that's, of course, as we grow, some of those other things will come into play. But I just want to highlight that, because I think so often coaches get really confused about like, what do I even do? Like, how do I even grow the business? And they a lot of times focus on things that don't actually move the needle in their business. And I just think that you're just such a great example of how you can build a really successful business. I mean, we're talking like where we're standing right now, multi-six-figure business, part-time, having a really good marketing strategy and doing the inner work as you're stepping into these new levels. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I had other access to other things that were guiding how to get started, right? And have access to other programs even. But the difference is having an infrastructure, right? It's having a webinar that resonates. It's having a website that does the heavy lifting to get people to the webinar. It has effective ad strategy and where to spend money and then how to assess whether things are working or not. And like that is key. And I just my experience has been that like you can't like social media your way through that kind of stuff. You can't network your way through that kind of stuff. Like you can't even paid ads your way through it if the ads don't resonate and don't go to something of value.
Right.
And so really having the basics, which is really at the core of how I utilized you beyond the additional skills that you have. But having that as the basis is, I mean, that's the foundation. What do you have if you don't have that?
Yeah, it's so, so vital. And I actually think it's becoming more vital just because there is more and more distraction, I think, out in the marketplace. I think having a message that really resonates with your audience is now more important than ever. So making sure that that's happening and finding a way to get it in front of the right people is so, so important. So,
well, and I was willing to do like the hard stuff when it wasn't fun anymore. I mean, my favorite part's coaching, isn't it? Everybody's favorite part, right?
It is. Yeah.
But the testing ads and the rewriting copy and rewriting copy again, all of those things. Like I just put it on my to-do list. Like I said, if I, like I mentioned before, if I'm not precise and utilizing my time really carefully, then things don't get done. And then that just sets me back. And that's frustration.
Yeah.
And resenting your business or wanting to quit. Right. So
exactly. And one of the things that I want to share that's really powerful here is that in those moments when it was clear, like, oh, hey, we need to maybe rewrite this or we need to rework this. One of the things that I appreciate so much is that you never, like, it never threw you off. Like you never were like, really? Like, do I have to do this? Or like, you just understood. Like there was a knowing, there was an understanding, like, yeah, this is business. Yeah, this is what's needed. Yeah, I'm not going to complain about, wow, having to rewrite something that is going to allow me to get in front of literally thousands of my ideal clients. Like you always just really understood the why behind things and really understood the importance of testing and being willing to try new things. And I think that's
knew it wasn't
really
about
important.
me.
Yeah.
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 It never was about me. I mean, so yeah, it made it so that it was less painful.
For sure. For sure. And that's also why I think you've been able to create the level of success is because of what you just said and really keeping it focused on your clients. So, so good. Okay. So we talked about where your business is at, where you're at right now. What do you think when you look back and you kind of assess the last, I don't know, we'll just say last year in your business, like what do you think are some of the biggest transformations that you've gone through personally as like a business owner?
Well, I think it takes a lot of courage to actually find and live into your niche and find your voice within it. And although I knew I could help people, I really had to grow into the space where I could let my experience, I mean, I've been divorced and remarried and, some of those hard things, have those things be a place in which I could help people and accept that I could serve other people and share, in my case, share the women's side of things. I'm not trying to convince them that their wife's experience is more valid than them. It's sometimes they'll say to me, like, I'm the wife whisperer, right? I'm the person that can help decode the stuff that they're hearing. And so I think living into and finding my voice within that has been really, really important.
Yeah.
So I guess the other thing, like just being willing to just keep going, right? With all of these iterations, like I never doubted that I was a good coach and that I had valuable things to share with people. And so then, the perseverance, and I have a saying above my screen that I see multiple times a day that just says, discomfort is completely acceptable. Lean into it. And like, I was willing to be uncomfortable. I was willing to be wrong. I was willing to do the unfun things to get where I am, because at this point, like, oh my gosh, I just giggle. It's just so much fun to see how much change they're making and how, like, having them have wins is like really what keeps me going. And as I've gotten better at what I do with them, those wins seem a lot more poignant. And so it's really rewarding.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying, like kind of through the process of growing your own business, like in many ways you have become a better coach. And I think that that's really true, because to grow your business and the inner work that's required and the things that you have to look at just for yourself internally also in many ways can help you be a better coach for your clients too.
Right. I mean, it's also content, I mean, like, as I see their challenges and work through it, I'm also able to help other people. That becomes part of my voice, which is my strength, right? It's what attracts people to me. So it's wonderful. Really great.
Yeah. So let's talk about resilience for a minute, because when I think of Alisa and when I look at Alisa, like one of the characteristics that I always think about for you is that you are so resilient and have been so resilient in this process. And I just think that I see that that's who you are, even in your life, like even outside of the business, like I just know that's who Alisa is. How important do you think being resilient is to this process?
Well, it's probably everything, right? I mean, because if we're so fragile that the copy not being quite right, or the webinar or the niche not being quite right, and then the feedback from clients, it makes it so that it is a personal, says something about you. Well, that's really painful. And so like having the resilience of letting my business teach me and take me where I need to go and teach me the things that would help the people that I wanted to help at the core the most. Like if I'm open to that and be willing to grow myself, I mean, this is sort of, we're back to that. Are you a growth mindset person or not? And I see myself as a lifelong learner in lots of areas of my life. And this is just one of them. And I feel like all the really hard things that I have been through that break people, one of them might break people. And, where I've got handfuls of them, it feels like sometimes, like I don't want to be Pollyanna-ish about this and say, I'm so glad for all my trials, right? Yeah. But I am really grateful that I do have the resilience internally to be able to say, the world's conspiring in my favor, and this hard thing's been really hard, and I have the skill and the mindset to get through this and to think on purpose rather than letting something destroy me. And then when I'm ready to be able to share that out and to, one of the things that has helped me so much is to be really vulnerable with my clients in terms of, I've been where you are. I've been the really naggy wife. I've had marriage problems. And so I hear you from that side, that I think really resonates, really makes it so that they feel heard and my experience counts for something beyond my own personal growth.
Right. Well, and that right there, what you said about like knowing so deeply at such like an intimate level that your clients' pain, what they're suffering with, you are able to, look back on your own experience. I think that is so powerful when it comes to growing your business, when you have that depth of understanding to your clients. So for anybody listening, like if you're struggling with who is your niche or, maybe not feeling in full alignment with the work that you're doing, really take a look at like, where is your own experience, right? Like, what is a past version of yourself that you deeply understand, that that you can really help somebody else with right now? And I also think that that is one of the reasons why, just from a pure marketing perspective, your marketing has been so successful. And we saw that like right away where
it was like my first iteration with like a couple of tweaks. It was one of those magical moments that you
I still remember that where paper. It was like, we hit publish and like, literally it was like right away, we started to see like, okay, really good indicators. And it's been really, it's just built from there. And so that doesn't happen when you don't do the work before, when you don't actually think through these things, when you don't really think through who your clients are and what their challenges and their pain really is. So I want to encourage everybody listening, if you're struggling right now, like that's where you have to start. You have to really be clear about who you're helping and what you're helping them solve, and also make sure that it's a problem that they want to have solved. That's the other thing. So yeah, there's so many great things. There's so many things that I feel like we could talk through here. What would you say for somebody that is maybe a past version of you, like in their business, where they're trying to like do different things and maybe they're running up against, some challenges, or they're not building the momentum that they really want? What would you say to someone like that?
Maybe ask yourself, is there something you're holding yourself back? A place in which you're holding yourself back, right?
Yeah.
And why? What are you afraid of, right? Is this going to uncover something that reveals places in which you have work to do. And if so, clean that up. That it will really help you if you approach this from a clean place. So can I give an example?
Please. Yeah.
When I was in coach training, like many of you, I probably can speak for many of us, like we're taught to not point out people's flaws, right? And yet in coaching, we kind of have to, and that's uncomfortable. And I remember when I was in coach training, we were doing peer coaching, and I was dancing around saying somebody was fat because that was the word they had used.
Okay.
Right? Because like, that's uncomfortable. You shouldn't point that out and make people feel bad, right? Which we know is thought errors, right? But I was struggling with that. And when I got feedback on being able to speak the truth with compassion and kindness, like it changed everything. It made it so that I could speak hard concepts and embarrassing and really painful concepts to people. And so my point in saying that is that when you do the work that makes it so that you can show up, that can really help whatever's next. And so to people that are the versions of myself where I wasn't getting traction is, what do you know about this journey that you need to address? And honor your intuition. If you know some things, but you're avoiding it, ask yourself why and decide if that serves you and if you want to keep it. Because maybe you do, but maybe it can open up doors that help a lot of people and bring you a lot of joy in the process. So keep going, just keep going and be willing to learn and grow and to be wrong and to bomb and to get it right partially and to be a really good scientist around what does the data tell us? Because the data is not telling us we're a terrible person. The data is telling us we need to change some words.
Yeah.
We need to see who we're trying to send a message to and do the words and the message, or do they mesh?
Yeah. And again, I just want to point that out, like not internalizing it and just using it as data. Where can we improve? Where can we say this more clearly? How can I do this in a way that makes more sense for my clients? I think is so important and something that I think you do so well. Again, not getting emotional about the process, not getting emotional about the process of building a business, not getting emotional about like when something isn't maybe working exactly as you had hoped it would work. But just understanding, going back to what I said earlier, understanding that it's just part of the process and it's part of business, I think has really, really served you and is something that I have observed has really helped you, I think, grow in a really accelerated way because of that, because you don't allow those things to slow you down. So what's next for you, Alisa? Like, where are you going next with your business?
Well, to a group. And so, I'm doing the next iteration of the growth beyond the one-on-one, which is all the infrastructure behind it. So how do the clients experience the process with me? So, a CRM kind of, mechanism. And then like I think groups next. I mean, the people that don't actually decide to move forward with me are always really good potential clients for my group, or it is a better fit for them just altogether. And so, I'm in the place where I'm creating the wait list for the program. And as soon as the infrastructure is up, so the website is needing to have some adjustments to accommodate that as well. And so that's where I am in the thick of it. And so what I see in the next year is, or a few years, I guess, is building the group in a sustainable way and that's offering really good value for people. And I love the one-on-one coaching. So, whether I do one-on-one or very small group in addition to group, and then even some like seminar events for my clients, I see all of that as coming. And anyway, I think, I'm just excited to see how it grows. I mean, this has been an exciting fun journey.
It's a really exciting place to be in your business. So I just, again, want to acknowledge like all the hard work you've done and just the focus that you've had and just the level-headedness, honestly, like in this process, not allowing things to like sway you too far one side or the other. I just think that that's so, so important, and being so coachable as well, I think is really key. And, just taking the data as just that, as just data, and making the tweaks. And so when you think about your journey of building this business, what do you think is the biggest transformation for you personally in this process?
In terms of how I show up for my clients, it's really coming to terms with like my relationships and the hard things and the happy things and the conversations that needed to occur that didn't, and conversations that can occur now. And then, being able to share that out with people and giving them language to have difficult conversations with their partners where, I've got clients where they're quite combative with each other and every conversation is an argument. And I have others that are more open to one another, but don't have the words. And so I guess my growth and being willing to feel the shame and embarrassment and disappointments of all of my iterations of the versions of myself that I have been in, over my married lifetime, over, my adult lifetime, and then just being able to get to a really comfortable and, peaceful place for myself. Like, I appreciate getting feedback and having the capacity to not be devastated by feedback, to be able to be introspective. And, that comes from being open, doing the work that I ask my clients to do and encourage them to do. And, really there's such richness in life when there's lots of voices and there's room for everybody and varying experiences and opinions. And I could only get that when I stopped being so judgmental to myself and others. And so, I appreciate my own journey.
Yeah. And I love that. And I would just echo, like, as you're saying that, I'm just thinking about, you've always been so good about like bringing, like coming to the coaching sessions, any coaching session that we have, like, this is what's coming up. This is kind of what I'm thinking. This is some work that I've done, but let's work through this. Like, you've been really open to what you just said, like really digging into your own even personal journey at times. And us talking, like, sometimes not even about like business stuff, but just what's happening personally that has such a big impact on the business and the results that you create in the business. So, so good. I feel like we could talk for another full hour. There's so much ground that we could cover, but thank you so much, Alisa, for coming on to the show today. I'm so excited for what's ahead for you. You have,
thanks. Me too.
Yeah. Just created such an amazing, wonderful business. And it's just, you're about to take it to the next level, which is so, so exciting. So thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom with my audience today.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me. It's such a pleasure. And you've been such a great mentor and coach, helping me really to take everything to the next step. I had skills, but this was what was missing. And like, what I want you to know and understand about my experience is that working with you meant that you had worked out a whole bunch of the headaches already, because that's where you're really skilled, right? And so to be able to do that and not have to spend so much of my brain juice on stuff that didn't push me forward, didn't help me, was really valuable. So I appreciate your skills and the things that you've offered.
Of course. More to come. All right, Alisa. So if my listeners want to follow you, find out more about you, where can they go?
Okay. Well, yeah. So like we've talked about, I don't do tons on social media, but I do have accounts. So you can find me there. So it's Alisa Stoddard Coaching on both Facebook and Instagram. But really, my website is the best place that people find out more about what I do, which is alisastoddard.com.
Love it. So good. And we'll also link that up in the show notes for everybody. All right, Alisa, thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Hey, if you're ready for a real breakthrough in your business and want to grow and scale your business to at least 6 figures or more in annual revenue, I invite you to apply for my exclusive program, The Mastermind, at amandacarlstadcoaching.com/the-mastermind. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Life Coach Business Podcast. If you want to learn more about how to build, grow, and scale your business and accelerate your results, visit amandacarlstadcoaching.com.